My name is Mary King, and at 30 I thought I'd finally won. I'd just earned my master's degree in engineering from a top university in Augusta, Maine. My days were disciplined early mornings, black coffee, late-night study sessions. Mom pushed me to be strong, to never back down. That diploma in my hands was proof I'd done it. But as I stood on the graduation stage searching the crowd for my family, my chest sank. Dad sat stiff, arms crossed, face cold. Mom fidgeted with her purse, eyes darting anywhere but me. My brother scrolled his phone, bored. I'd begged them to come, sent invitations weeks ago, but their indifference cut deeper than any absence. When my name echoed through the hall, the applause felt empty without them. As I stepped off the stage, Dad seized my arm. His voice sliced like steel. This degree, worthless. You'll never make it out there. Each word landed like a strike. My grip locked on the diploma, anger pressing heavy against my chest. I refused to break, not for him. I turned, heels snapping against the polished floor, and my hand brushed the letter in my pocket, a job offer from a leading tech firm in Seattle starting next month. They didn't know. They didn't deserve to. Walking out of the auditorium, their shadows slipped behind me. To them, I wasn't a daughter today. I was breaking free from their grip, and I was ready to fight back. If this family betrayal grips you, subscribe and hit the bell. Comment below, have you ever faced a moment like this? 3 days after the graduation, my phone lit up with a text from Dad. We're visiting tomorrow, Mary. Be ready. No warmth, just a cold order. I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the screen. Their icy stares at the ceremony still haunted me. Dad's cutting words, Mom's averted eyes, my brother's indifference. This sudden visit felt like a trap. I typed fine and dropped the phone on my coffee table, my heart uneasy. My apartment in Augusta, Maine wasn't just a home. It was my fortress, a gift left to me by my grandmother after she passed 5 years ago. The thought of them invading it made my skin crawl. The next morning, a car engine hummed outside my building. I peered through the blinds and saw Thomas King and Patricia King, my parents stepping out of a polished SUV with James King, my brother, slouching behind them. Dad's suit was too formal, like he was here for business. Mom's smile was thin, her eyes darting over the brick exterior like a vulture circling prey. James, glued to his phone, barely glanced up. I opened the door, forcing a neutral tone. Dad, Mom, good to see you, I said, though. My throat tightened. Hey, James. He mumbled something, eyes still on his screen. Come in, I said, stepping back. Dad marched in first, his gaze raking over the living room, Grandma's oak table, the worn leather couch, my framed diploma on the wall. Well, you've got a nice setup here, he said, but his voice carried an edge like he was tallying a price. Mom trailed behind her heels, clicking her fingers, grazing the bookshelf. You've done so much with this place, honey, she said, but her tone was hollow, her eyes greedy like she was claiming something she never owned. James sprawled on the couch, finally looking up. What's this place worth now, Mary? He asked, his voice blunt. My stomach nodded. It's my home, I said sharply, dodging the question. We sat for coffee, but their words felt scripted. Dad grilled me about my job plans, his eyes flicking to my laptop on the counter. You're not still banking on that degree, are you? He said, echoing his graduation jab. Mom chimed in with fake sweetness, asking how I was holding up alone. James stayed quiet, but I caught him staring at the stack of mail on my table, bills, bank notices, nothing exciting. Their questions grew invasive. Dad pressed about my savings, the apartment's deed, even the building's upkeep. Mom kept circling back to the apartment, her compliments laced with envy. Your grandmother left you quite a gem, she said, her smile tight. James wandered to the kitchen, poking through cabinets. I snapped, James, what are you doing? He smirked. Just looking, sis. Their behavior screamed ulterior motives. Dad's probing, Mom's greedy glances, James's nosiness. It wasn't a family visit. It was a reconnaissance mission. After an hour, they left promising to stay in touch. I locked the door, my pulse racing. Their fake concern, the way they sized up Grandma's gift, it didn't sit right. I grabbed my phone and dialed Deborah Ford, my best friend since college. "Deborah, something's off," I said, my voice low. My family just left and they were way too interested in my apartment. Deborah, a lawyer with a knack for sniffing out trouble, didn't miss a beat. Tell me everything she said. I recounted their visit, Dad's questions, Mom's envious looks, James rifling through my stuff. "I'll look into it," she said. "Give me a day." I hung up, pacing the apartment, my eyes on Grandma's table. She'd left this place for me to stand on my own, not to let my family tear it apart. Their coldness at the graduation, Dad's dismissal, now this. It wasn't about reconnecting, it was about greed. I checked my laptop for anything suspicious, emails, bank alerts. Nothing yet, but my gut told me to stay sharp. I wasn't going to let them catch me off guard. That night, a text from David Lynch, a colleague from my internship, popped up. "Heard your family was over. You okay?" I frowned. How did he know David ran in circles that overlapped with James's shady business contacts? Not sure, I replied. "Can we meet tomorrow?" He agreed. I set the phone down, the apartment suddenly feeling smaller, like it was holding its breath. I wasn't imagining things. Dad, Mom, and James wanted something likely this apartment, and I wasn't handing it over. The next morning, Deborah called, her voice tense. "Mary, this isn't good. James has been asking realtors about property values in your area, and your dad. He's been talking to some creditors about quick cash." My heart sank. Creditors. James's history of bad deals was no secret, but this felt bigger. I thanked Deborah, my hands trembling. I needed proof, not just suspicions. My eyes landed on the mail James had eyed. Maybe there was a clue there. I started sorting through it, determined to uncover their plan before they made their next move. The morning after Deborah's call, I sat at Grandma's oak table, staring at the stack of mail James had eyed during their visit. My hands trembled as I sorted through it, bills, junk flyers, nothing unusual. But Deborah's words echoed in my head. James asking about property values, Dad talking to creditors. My family wasn't just nosy, they were plotting something. I needed proof, and I needed it now. I grabbed my phone, checking for anything out of place, when a notification pinged. A text from an unknown number. "Mary, check your brother's phone if you get the chance. Trust me." No name, but my gut told me it was someone close to James's circle. David Lynch, my colleague, had mentioned knowing people tied to James's failed deals. Could it be him? I texted David. "Did you send me an anonymous tip?" He replied quickly, "Not me, but I'm meeting you today. We'll figure this out." I set the phone down, my mind racing. James's phone. That was a long shot, but the mail pile was my best lead for now. I sifted through it again, slower this time, and noticed an envelope tucked beneath a utility bill. It was from a bank addressed to me, but the seal was slightly torn, like someone had peeked inside. My heart skipped. Had James tampered with it during their visit? I opened it, a notice about my apartment's deed, confirming it was fully in my name, a gift from my grandmother. Nothing incriminating, but why was James so interested? I called Deborah Ford, my best friend, to update her. "Deborah, I found a bank notice James might have messed with," I said, "and some anonymous text about his phone." Her voice was sharp. "That's not good, Mary." I dug deeper. James has been meeting with a guy named Raymond Cole, a shady real estate broker. And your dad's been calling a bank officer, John Fisher, about loans against property. My blood ran cold. Loans against my apartment. "Can you get me more on this Raymond guy?" I asked. "Already on it," she said. "Meet me at my office later. Bring that notice." I hung up my hands, shaking. The apartment felt like a target now, not a home. I needed to know what James was hiding. His phone was out of reach, but maybe there was another way. I remembered James's habit of leaving his phone unlocked. He'd done it at my place, scrolling carelessly. If I could get close to him again, I might find something. But first I needed to meet David. I grabbed my coat and headed to a cafe downtown where David was waiting. David Lynch, my colleague from my internship, sat in a corner booth sipping coffee. "You look stressed," he said as I slid into the seat. "What's going on?" I explained the family's visit, James's snooping the anonymous text. His face darkened. "I didn't send that text, but I know who might have. James has been hanging with some rough types, creditors, brokers. One of them, Raymond Cole, has a reputation for flipping properties fast." My stomach twisted. "Raymond again?" "How do you know this?" I asked. David leaned forward. "I overheard a call at work. James was bragging about a big deal involving a family property. Sounded like he meant yours." I gripped my coffee mug, trying to stay calm. "What kind of deal?" David shook his head. "Didn't catch details, but he mentioned needing your signature. I think they're trying to trick you into signing over the deed." My mind flashed to Dad's probing questions about the apartment, Mom's greedy stares. This wasn't just about James's debts. It was a family scheme. I thanked David and left my thoughts spiraling. I needed hard evidence, not just hearsay. Back at the apartment, I tore through the mail again, looking for anything I'd missed. Nothing. Frustrated, I opened my laptop, checking my email for bank alerts or anything tied to the deed. That's when I saw it, an email from John Fisher, a bank officer, sent 2 days ago. "Dear Ms. King," it read, "we've received inquiries from Thomas King regarding your property's title. Please confirm if you authorize any changes." My heart stopped. Dad was already moving, trying to mess with my deed. I forwarded the email to Deborah, my hands shaking. "Check this out," I wrote. "They're targeting my apartment." Deborah called within minutes. "Mary, this is bad. John Fisher's legit. He works at my bank. I'll call him to confirm what Thomas asked. But that email, it's proof they're after your place." She paused. "There's more. I got a tip from a contact. James left his phone at a bar last night. My friend grabbed it before James came back. It's at my office." My pulse raced. James's phone. This was my chance. "I'm coming now," I said, grabbing my keys. At Deborah's office, she handed me James's phone, still unlocked. "Be quick," she said. "My contact can't hold on to it long." I scrolled through his messages, my heart pounding. There it was, a thread with Raymond Cole. The apartment's worth at least $300,000, James had written. "If we get Mary to sign, we can sell it and clear my debts." Raymond replied, "Talk to your dad. He's working the bank angle. We'll split the profit." My breath caught. Dad was in on it too. Another text from Mom popped up. "Make sure Mary doesn't suspect anything. We need that deed." My hands shook with rage. My own family plotting to steal Grandma's gift. I took screenshots and sent them to my phone, then handed the phone back to Deborah. "This is it," I said. "They're trying to take my home." Deborah's eyes narrowed. "We can stop them, Mary. I'll call John Fisher to block any moves on the deed. But you need to be careful, they're desperate." I nodded, my mind racing. I wasn't just fighting for my apartment, I was fighting for my future. Grandma had left me this place to stand tall, and I wouldn't let them tear it down. I left Deborah's office, my resolve hardening. I needed to confront them, but not yet. I had to be smart, gather more evidence, and plan my next move. Back home, I called David again. "I found proof," I said. "James's texts with a broker. They want to sell my apartment." David whistled. "That's low even for James. What's your plan?" I didn't have one yet, but I knew I needed allies. Can you keep an ear out for more on Raymond Cole? I asked. Done, he said. And watch your back, Mary. That night, I sat at Grandma's table, the screenshots burning a hole in my phone. My family thought they could outsmart me, but they'd underestimated me. I wasn't the naive daughter they saw at the graduation. I was ready to fight back, and I'd make sure they regretted crossing me. The next step was clear: protect the deed, build a plan, and turn their scheme against them. Sitting at Grandma's oak table, I stared at the screenshots from James's phone, my blood still boiling from what I'd uncovered. My family, Thomas, Patricia, and James, wanted to steal my apartment, the one gift my grandmother left me to pay off James's debts. Their plan was clear: trick me into signing over the deed, sell the place, and split the profit with Raymond Cole, their shady broker. Dad's calls to John Fisher at the bank only confirmed it. They were moving fast. I wasn't going to let them win. I needed a plan, one sharp enough to protect my home and teach them a lesson they'd never forget. My mind was clear, my resolve ironclad. It was time to fight back. I called Deborah Ford, my best friend and lawyer, first thing in the morning. Deborah, we need to stop them. I said, my voice steady despite the anger simmering inside. They're after my apartment and I'm not letting it go. She didn't hesitate. Come to my office, she said. I've already talked to John Fisher. He's on our side. I grabbed the bank notice and the screenshots, my heart pounding. Deborah's office was a small, no-nonsense space downtown filled with legal books and coffee cups. When I arrived, she was waiting with a notepad. John confirmed your dad asked about transferring the deed, she said. But the apartment's in your name, Mary. They can't touch it without your signature. That's what they're counting on, I said, sliding the screenshots across her desk. They think they can trick me into signing. Deborah's eyes narrowed as she read the text between James and Raymond. This is disgusting, she said. But we can use this. First, we need to secure the deed. I'll file a notice with the county to flag any attempts to change it. I nodded, grateful for her quick thinking. What about the apartment itself, I asked. If they're desperate, they might try something else. Deborah leaned back, tapping her pen. We could sell it to someone you trust fast before they make a move. That way it's out of their reach. The idea hit me like a spark. Sell the apartment. It was Grandma's gift, my sanctuary, but if I sold it to someone I trusted, I could keep it safe and cut my family off. Who could buy it? I asked. Deborah smiled. I know someone, Raymond Cole. I froze. The broker working with James, she shook her head. Not that Raymond. My Raymond Cole is a retired real estate agent, an old friend of my dad's. He's honest, and he'd buy it to keep it safe for you, no strings attached. I exhaled, relieved. Can we trust him? I asked. With my life, Deborah said. I'll set up a meeting. Next, I called David Lynch, my colleague from my internship. David, I need more on James's creditors, I said. They're pushing him to sell my apartment. David's voice was grim. I heard from a contact James owes over $200,000 to some rough lenders. They're pressuring him hard. My stomach twisted. That explained their urgency. Can you find out if they've contacted the bank, I asked. On it, he said. Meet me tomorrow at the cafe. I'll have more. I thanked him, my mind already racing to the next step. Back home, I sat down to think. Selling the apartment was a start, but I needed to protect my money too. My savings, $50,000 from years of part-time jobs and Grandma's small cash bequest, sat in a local bank account. If Dad was talking to John Fisher, they might try to access it. I called John Fisher, the bank officer Deborah had mentioned. Mr. Fisher, I said I got your email about my dad's inquiries. Can you lock my accounts? John's voice was calm but firm. Ms. King, I've already flagged your accounts for extra security. No changes can be made without your in-person approval. I breathed easier. Thank you, John. Can I come by tomorrow to move the funds? He agreed, setting an appointment for noon. With the apartment and savings covered, I needed a way to hit back at my family, not with anger, but with a lesson. Grandma always said actions speak louder than words. I wanted them to feel the weight of their betrayal. I pulled out a small wooden box from under my bed, one Grandma had given me as a kid. Inside were childhood keepsakes, a faded friendship bracelet James and I made when we were 10, a photo of us at a family picnic, Mom's old recipe card for Grandma's apple pie. These were the things that once tied us together. I decided to leave them a legacy, something to remind them of what they'd thrown away. I grabbed a notebook and started planning. First, I'd sell the apartment to Deborah's Raymond Cole, ensuring the money went to a new account my family couldn't touch. Second, I'd withdraw my savings and move them to a bank in another town. Third, I'd leave the wooden box with a note for my family, along with some fake money from an old board game we used to play. The note would lay out their betrayal not with venom, but with cold facts. I wanted them to see what their greed cost them, not just my home, but me. The next day, I met Raymond Cole, the retired real estate agent at Deborah's office. He was a kind-eyed man in his 60s with a handshake that felt like a promise. "Ms. King," he said, "Deborah told me what's going on. I'll buy your apartment for $250,000 cash, no questions. I won't sell it unless you say so." I smiled, grateful. "Thank you, Mr. Cole. I just need it safe." He nodded. "It's yours whenever you want it back." Deborah handed me the paperwork, a simple sale contract, no loopholes. I signed, my hand steady. The apartment would be out of my family's reach by tomorrow. At the bank, John Fisher greeted me with a warm smile. "Ms. King, your accounts are secure," he said, handing me a form. I closed my main account, transferring $50,000 to a new one in a bank an hour away. John gave me a cashier's check for the cash, which I tucked into my purse. "If your dad calls again, I'll say there's nothing to discuss," he said. I thanked him, feeling lighter. My money was safe. Back home, I prepared the legacy. I placed the bracelet photo and recipe card in the wooden box, adding a stack of play money from the board game. On a sheet of paper, I wrote, "This is what you wanted, empty promises and fake wealth. Grandma gave me a home, but you chose greed over family." I sealed the note in an envelope addressed to Thomas, Patricia, and James. I'd leave it with Deborah to deliver when the time came. I called David again to check on the creditors. "They're getting antsy," he said. "James promised them a big payout soon. They think it's from your apartment." My jaw clenched. "Not if I can help it," I said. David paused. "You're tougher than they think, Mary." "What's your next move?" I smiled grimly. "You'll see." I hung up my plan, taking shape. I wasn't just protecting my home, I was rewriting the game. My family thought they could outsmart me, but they'd soon learn I was one step ahead. The next morning, I woke with a fire in my chest. My plan was set: sell the apartment to Raymond Cole, secure my savings, leave a lesson for Thomas, Patricia, and James. They thought they could trick me into signing away Grandma's gift, but I was turning their scheme against them. I checked my phone for any messages from Dad, expecting another pushy text. Sure enough, one waited, "Mary. We're coming over tonight. Got some papers for you to sign. It's for your future." My stomach churned. Papers, I knew exactly what they wanted: my signature on a deed transfer. I texted back, "Sure, Dad. I'll be home." I'd play their game, but on my terms. I called Deborah Ford, my best friend, to finalize everything. "Deborah, it's go time," I said. "They're coming tonight with papers." Her voice was steady. "The sale to Raymond is done, $250,000 cash deposited in your new account. The deed's transferred to him as of this morning." I exhaled, relieved. Grandma's apartment was safe with Raymond Cole, the retired agent, not the shady broker James worked with. "And the bank?" I asked. "John Fisher's got your back," Deborah said. "Your $50,000 is secure in the new account. They can't touch it." I thanked her, my resolve hardening. One piece left the legacy. I pulled out the wooden box I'd prepared. Inside were the friendship bracelet James and I made as kids, a photo from a family picnic when we were still close, Mom's recipe card for Grandma's apple pie, and a stack of play money from our old board game. I added the note I'd written, "This is what you chased, empty promises and fake wealth. Grandma gave me a home, but you chose greed over family." I sealed it in an envelope addressed to Thomas, Patricia, and James, and handed it to Deborah. "Give this to them after I'm gone," I said. She nodded. "They'll get it when they realize they've lost." At noon, I met John Fisher at the bank. "Ms. King," he said, handing me a confirmation slip, "your funds are safe in the new account. No one's accessed them." I smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Fisher. If my dad calls, tell him the account's empty." He winked. "Consider it done." I left with the cashier's check tucked away, my financial future secure. Back home, I packed a small bag, clothes, laptop, the Seattle job offer letter. I wasn't staying in Augusta after tonight. My family's betrayal had pushed me to the edge, and I was ready to leap. That evening, Thomas, Patricia, and James arrived right on time. Dad carried a folder, his face all fake warmth. Mom's smile was tighter than ever, her eyes flicking to the apartment's walls. James slouched in phone in hand, but his smirk was gone. "Mary, we've got something important to discuss," Dad said, setting the folder on Grandma's table. "It's about your future." I nodded, playing along. "Sure, Dad." "What's this about?" He opened the folder, revealing a stack of documents. "We found a great opportunity," he said. "A job out of state. You'd need to sign these to secure it. Standard stuff, power of attorney, property management." My heart pounded, but I kept my face calm. Power of attorney, property management. They were trying to take everything. "Let me see," I said, taking the papers. I flipped through them slowly, pretending to read. The documents were a sham, vague clauses about transferring the deed authorizing James to manage my assets. I recognized Raymond Cole's name there, Raymond, not mine, in a footnote about a potential sale. My hands shook, but not from fear. Anger fueled me. "Looks complicated," I said, stalling. "Can I think it over?" Dad's smile faltered. "It's time-sensitive, Mary," he said, his voice sharp. Mom leaned in, her tone sugary. "Honey, it's for your own good. You don't need the stress of this place." James finally spoke, his eyes on the papers. "Just sign, sis. It's no big deal." I bit back a retort. They thought I was clueless. "Okay," I said, picking up a pen. "If you think it's best." Their eyes lit up, greedy and smug. I signed each page, my hand deliberately shaky, mimicking uncertainty. Dad snatched the papers, barely hiding his excitement. "Good choice, Mary," he said. "We'll handle everything." They left soon after, promising to finalize things tomorrow. I locked the door, my heart racing with triumph. Those signatures were worthless. The deed was already with Raymond, my Raymond. The apartment was gone from their grasp. I called Deborah. "It's done," I said. "They think they've won." She laughed. "They're in for a shock. I'll deliver the box tomorrow when they come looking." I thanked her, my mind already on the next step. I texted David Lynch. "Plans in motion. Can you watch James's next move?" He replied on it. "They're meeting their broker tomorrow. I'll keep you posted." The next morning, I stayed in the apartment waiting for the fallout. Around noon, my phone buzzed. "David." "Mary, they just went to the county office with those papers. They're furious. The deed's already transferred." I grinned. "What else?" He chuckled. "James is yelling about a scam. Your dad's blaming him. They're heading to the bank now." I hung up, picturing their faces. They'd find nothing there either. I called Deborah to confirm the box delivery. "I'm dropping it off at their hotel this afternoon," she said. "They'll get your message loud and clear." By evening, Deborah texted me a photo. The wooden box sat on a hotel desk, opened the contents, spilled out bracelet, photo, recipe, card, play, money, my note. James's face was pale in the background, Mom's eyes red, Dad's jaw tight. They'd read my words, seen their greed laid bare. I felt no joy, only a cold satisfaction. They'd chased Grandma's gift and lost me instead. I packed my bag ready to leave Augusta behind. The Seattle job waited a new life I'd earned. My family thought they could break me, but I'd turn their game upside down. Tomorrow I'd be gone, and they'd have nothing but their own regret. The morning after my family's world unraveled, I stood in my Augusta apartment one last time, my packed bag by the door. The wooden box, my legacy for Thomas, Patricia, and James, was gone, delivered by Deborah Ford to their hotel. I'd outsmarted them selling Grandma's apartment to Raymond Cole, securing my $50,000 and leaving them with nothing but a bracelet, a photo, a recipe card, and fake money. Their plan to steal my home had collapsed, and I was done with their greed. Today, I'd leave Augusta behind for Camden, Maine, where my new job at the tech firm waited. I wasn't running, I was choosing freedom. Deborah arrived at 9, her car loaded for the drive. "Ready, Mary?" she asked, her eyes bright with pride. "More than ever," I said, slinging my bag over my shoulder. I took one last look at Grandma's oak table, the heart of the home she'd left me. It wasn't mine anymore, but it was safe with Raymond, the retired agent who'd promised to hold it for me. I locked the door and followed Deborah to her SUV, my heart steady. Augusta had been my past. Camden was my future. The drive to Camden took 3 hours, winding through Maine's coastal roads. Deborah kept the mood light, telling stories of her law firm's wildest cases. I laughed, but my mind drifted to the family I was leaving behind. Thomas, Patricia, and James thought they could break me, but they'd only pushed me to stand taller. As we neared Camden, the ocean came into view, its waves crashing against rocky cliffs. I felt a weight lift, a sense of release I hadn't known I needed. This was my new beginning. We arrived at a small rental cottage by the harbor, arranged by Michael Ford, Deborah's husband. "Michael Ford, my better half," Deborah said, introducing the tall man waiting at the door. "Welcome to Camden, Mary," he said, handing me the keys. "This place is yours for as long as you need." The cottage was modest, wooden floors, a cozy kitchen, windows facing the sea. I set my bag down, already feeling at home. "Thank you, Michael," I said. "And you, Deborah." She hugged me. "You did this, Mary. They underestimated you." That afternoon, I got a call from David Lynch, my colleague. "Mary, you should have seen their faces," he said, his voice tinged with amusement. I was at the hotel when Deborah dropped off the box. James opened it, saw the play money, and went pale. Patricia was crying, clutching that recipe card. Thomas just stood there, reading your note over and over. I pictured it, my note's words cutting deeper than any argument. "Grandma gave me a home, but you chose greed over family." David continued. "They tried the bank after. John Fisher shut them down, said the accounts were empty. They're furious, but they've got nothing." I nodded, a grim satisfaction settling in. "Thanks, David," I said. "Keep me posted if they try anything else." He promised he would. I hung up, staring out at the harbor. The sun was setting, painting the water gold. I'd won, but not without cost. Thomas, Patricia, and James weren't my family anymore, not after their betrayal. I pulled the Seattle job offer from my bag, rereading the words that had anchored me through this fight. Starting next week, I'd be an engineer at a top tech firm, building a life on my terms. The next day, I walked Camden shore, the salty air filling my lungs. The town was quiet, its wooden houses lining the coast like a postcard. I found a bench by the water and sat thinking of Grandma. She'd left me that apartment to give me a foundation, a chance to rise. I'd protected her gift not just from my family's greed, but from their attempt to dim my light. I thought of the bracelet, the photo, the recipe card, remnants of a family that no longer existed. They'd chased money and lost everything that mattered. My phone buzzed a text from Deborah with another photo. James stood outside the county office, his face twisted in anger. Thomas was on the phone, probably yelling at some official. Patricia sat on a bench staring at the ground. The wooden box lay open beside her, its contents untouched. They'd gone back to the apartment, David later told me, only to find Raymond Cole's name on the deed. They'd stormed the bank, but John Fisher had turned them away. Their plan was dust, and my note had made it clear this was their doing. I settled into Camden over the next few days, preparing for my move to Seattle. The tech firm had sent a welcome package, details about my role, a relocation stipend, a start date. I met with Michael again, who offered to help with the move. "Your family now, Mary," he said, his warmth a stark contrast to the coldness I'd left behind. Deborah joined us for dinner at a seaside restaurant, the three of us toasting to new beginnings. I felt a peace I hadn't known in years, a certainty that I was where I belonged. Looking back, I saw the lesson in all this. Greed can tear apart even the closest bonds, turning family into strangers. My parents and brother chose money over love, but I chose myself. Their betrayal hurt, but it showed me my strength. I'd built my life degree, job, freedom despite their doubts. To anyone listening, let this be a warning. Don't let anyone, even family, steal your worth. Protect what you've earned, stand tall, and walk away from those who'd pull you down. I did, and I'm stronger for it. Thank you for following my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it resonates. If it did, please subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a comment. Have you ever had to fight for what's yours? Share your thoughts below, and let's keep this journey going together.